flying over the South China Sea.
We're getting a close-up look at a Chinese fighter jet. The aircrew here identifies it as a J-11,
Commodore Will Torreson shows the network of man-made islands China built on what had been coral reefs claimed by other countries.
Cedar that they say is armed with air-to-air missiles, and it's been shadowing this U.S. Navy plane now for about 15 minutes.
The Chinese pilot never responds, but eventually leaves when the U.S. plane turns south.
What does it look like when the United States decides to strike back? Decisively and immediately. One moment, a Chinese HQ-19 missile sped toward a stealth bomber. Minutes later, the entire launch site was reduced to a crater. How does a response that fast even happen? And what systems are brought together to make it possible? Stay with me because this isn't just about firepower. It's about coordination, secrecy, and a strike timed right down to the second. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Imagine flying a $2 billion stealth bomber over the open sea, the massive black wings cutting through the night in silence.
00, Delta Hotel 776.
Along the way, picking up fuel from a flying gas station.
American aircraft, this is the PLA Air Force. You are approaching Chinese airspace.
The crew sits in darkness, the only glow coming from dim instrument lights, when suddenly the calm is broken. Within just 47 seconds, an enemy radar has locked on, and then, unmistakably, a missile is launched. In that moment, every calculation about deterrence, escalation, and survival collides at once. The region at the center of this incident was the Scarborough-Shaw Corridor, a disputed stretch of water dotted with low-lying reefs, shoals, and artificial fortifications. It is more than a map debate. Whoever controls those waters dictates the flow of energy and trade in a corridor where 10% of the world's goods pass.
Another Friday afternoon in South China Sea.
The U.S. Navy invited CNN to fly on a P-8 reconnaissance.
Keep a safe distance or you'll be intercepted.
That's when the Chinese People's Liberation Army fighter jet appears, flying so close you...
That is why American stealth flights patrol above it, threading through legal international airspace, but challenging Beijing's expansive claims. Night sorties there are meant to be invisible, unpredictable, and a reminder that the skies cannot be closed with unilateral declarations. What changed on this flight was not the presence of Chinese tracking radar. U.S. crews are used to warning signals, to the familiar spike on detection equipment that means enemy systems are watching. A radar lock, even a strong one, is still just a targeting look, a way of saying, "We see you." That is harassment. It is not considered a use of force. But a missile launch is different. The infrared roar of an HQ-19 leaving the pad is not a message. It is an attempt to kill the aircraft and everyone aboard. That split second moved the situation from tense monitoring into the realm of combat. U.S. crews had no doubt what had just happened. The mission that night was classified at the highest level. The B-2 was outfitted not only for deterrence flights, but also for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance collection along a contested aerial lane. Whether the Chinese knew the full scope of that purpose is still unclear, but their decision to shoot suggests they viewed the aircraft's presence as more than symbolic. By pressing the launch button, Chinese commanders were either testing whether Washington would blink, attempting to frighten crews into pulling back, or making a blunt statement that their layered defenses were no longer for display only.
Ignoring competing claims from countries like Vietnam and the Philippines.
From militarized artificial islands to fighter jets and warplanes, China's heavy presence in the disputed region is putting the U.S. and its allies on notice.
The plane is headed past the self-governing island of Taiwan, which China claims as its own.
Each of those choices carried risk, because firing live rounds at a U.S. strategic bomber guaranteed a quick answer from the top of the American chain of command. That chain was already in motion before the missile had cleared its boost phase. Secure, hardened video links connected the president, the Joint Chiefs in Washington, and Indo-Pacific Command. The discussion window was measured in minutes, not hours. Analysts fed strike options in real time while commanders outlined what crossing this line meant under existing engagement rules. Less than 5 minutes later, the decision was signed, and a name was given: Operation Iron Dagger. The directives were stark. A strike package would neutralize the missile battery, its radar mast, and hardened bunkers with pinpoint accuracy. Civilian structures near the site were noted and would be avoided. The president wanted destruction, not escalation into the cityscapes nearby. For the crews preparing to fly, the rules were clear enough: erase the site, leave no functional command post standing. Why had China risked so much? The answer lay in the bomber's hidden orders. Its classified mission was tied directly to monitoring a contested corridor with imaging and electronic mapping that China did not want exposed. By firing, Beijing revealed how much it feared what those sensors might capture. But as the order for Iron Dagger spread through American command posts, the looming question was no longer about motives. It had shifted to something far more urgent. How could U.S. forces erase a heavily fortified missile shield in just minutes? The strike was not hours later, not days later. It was planned, loaded, and airborne within 6 hours of the launch. Every aircraft, each decoy pod, and every bomb on the racks was part of a playbook rehearsed but never used in real combat until that night.
Tensions are rising in one of the most hotly contested regions on the planet, the South China Sea.
This is a close encounter with a Chinese warplane, filmed just off the wing of a U.S. Navy reconnaissance. Some 30 miles from the Chinese-occupied Paracel Islands, a Chinese voice crackles over the radio.
This was Operation Iron Dagger, a joint package built to move faster than political hesitation, designed to hit a fortified target before the enemy could redeploy or bury assets deeper underground. At the heart of the plan were the B-2 Spirit bombers. These were the heavy hitters, carrying precision-guided munitions designed to crack open bunkers that had been built to withstand direct missile hits. Circling further out were the F-35s. They weren't there for headline strikes, but as invisible eyes, feeding targeting data across encrypted links in real time. Supporting them, EA-18G Growlers jammed every band of Chinese radar and communications, sowing a wall of electronic static that blinded local defenses. Legacy Hornets were included for flexible firepower and to hit soft targets if needed. Even expendable pieces had their role. Miniature air-launched decoys projected bomber signatures into the sky, confusing enemy radar scopes and luring fire away from the real strike aircraft. The challenge wasn't just hitting one launcher. The Chinese missile base was layered with sensors designed to do what most thought impossible: detect low observable aircraft. Fixed over-the-horizon radars, mobile surface-to-air launchers, hardened command bunkers, and close-in defense guns guarded the battery. On paper, it looked nearly impregnable. It was situated along the coast, positioned to cover maritime approaches with sweeping arcs of detection. Any careless approach would have lit up warnings across China's Eastern Command District.
We're refueling in midair right now, flying just about 40 feet away from a KC-135 tanker plane.
To the South China Sea, which China also claims almost all for itself.
Taking it down wasn't about raw firepower, but about peeling away protective layers fast enough to stop a counterstrike before it began. That peeling started with deception. The mauled J decoys entered from multiple directions, each one broadcasting electronic signatures that looked like a formation of bombers. Enemy radars scrambled to track them, shifting antenna arrays toward false echoes. At the same moment, Growlers blanketed the spectrum, distorting communication relays that linked coastal batteries to inland command posts. Down below, operators sat in bunkers staring at a screen filled with phantom bombers. their real targets already slipping past in another quadrant. As the noise filled the atmosphere, F-35s crept closer on silent cruising profiles. Their sensors locked onto real launchers and radar dishes, passing target coordinates across secure data links. Each transfer was measured in seconds. Those streams of coordinates painted a three-dimensional picture for the B-2 crews waiting at altitude. The stealth bombers flew in from the southwest, their radar cross-section no bigger than a bird in a flight corridor left dark by electronic jamming. At precisely 2:14 a.m., bomb bay doors opened. 16 precision bombs dropped in sequence, each one guided toward hardened shells, steel-reinforced bunkers, and radar domes. On the scope, it looked like a single cascading wave. 60 seconds later, the radar mast snapped into fragments, cutting enemy visibility. The command bunker began to collapse from internal shock waves. Launchers tucked into revetments exploded one by one, each secondary blast confirming elimination. By the 88th second after the first impact, the base had transitioned from active defense to smoldering ruin. In only 7 minutes, a Chinese missile shield worth nearly $400 million ceased to exist. What stood as a coastal barrier, complete with hardened bunkers and layered radars, was reduced to a smoking field of concrete debris. The message behind that destruction was as deliberate as the strike itself. Speed is the new weapon of deterrence. But here's the question: does overwhelming precision hold back future wars, or does it tempt both sides to pull triggers faster? Think about how deterrence really works. Not slow military buildups, but proof that the US can erase threats in seconds.